Money can actually buy happiness, but only about 10% of it. If you tell me how much money you make, I can tell you how happy you are going to be in your life, but only by 10%. Because the other 90% of happiness is related to how you process the world around you and your genetic makeup, which means that 90% is up to you. Hi, I'm Amy Blankson. I'm the founder and CEO of Fearless Positivity. I research the intersection of happiness, technology, and well-being. And today I'm here to debunk some myths that we've all heard and believe about happiness. You either have happiness or you don't. It turns out that some people are actually born happier than other people. Some people are born predisposed to be more satisfied than other people. And some people have a harder time finding that level of satisfaction. Researchers found that only 10% of your happiness is due to your environment. The other 90% is due to your genes and your perception of the world. The key here is that it doesn't have to be the end of the story. Despite your genes, we all have the capacity to increase our happiness levels and to practice happiness overall. Happiness looks the same around the world. Happiness takes on a different sense of meaning and context of the cultures around the world. If you're a scientist and you're trying to study and measure happiness, we actually look at something called subjective well-being, which is the metric being used to measure happiness on a global scale through the UN Global Happiness Report. The UN Global Happiness Report comes out every year reporting on the happiest countries in the world. And every year, consistently, the Scandinavian countries top the list. The question is, why do these countries consistently show up as happier than others? What makes them happier countries? If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know that shelter and food are the bedrock of being able to reach a level of self-actualization in your life. So having those taken care of and provided by those countries enables individuals to pursue other passions that help them to move up the triangle for happiness. But other countries that maybe are not as wealthy also top the list. What's interesting is that a number of countries who have high levels of social support have been indicated to be some of the happier countries. So if we're looking for a culture that is going to embrace and to create a global level of happiness, the fastest way to get there is by providing social support to those around you. There's power in positive thinking. Happiness is actually something that you can get better at. We've learned from scientists over the past 2 decades from the field of positive psychology that our mind has incredible power to change our scenarios and our life situations. And we can begin to train our brains to think this way by doing a series of exercises that I call the J game. It's a cheesy mnemonic that I use to remember journaling, gratitude, acts of kindness, meditation, and exercise. The J game. When I talk about journaling, we're talking about taking 2 minutes to write down the most meaningful moment in the last 24 hours of your life. What were you doing? Who were you with? And why was it so meaningful? In doing so, your brain begins to relive the most meaningful moment of the last 24 hours, helping you to actually re-experience that. Because your brain can't tell the difference between visualization and actual experience. And as a result, we find that your brain begins to relive this moment and feel a double sense of happiness. The second habit is G for gratitude. What we're trying to do with gratitude is to retrain the neural pathways in your brain to begin to develop a new reflex in how you're seeing and thinking about the world. We can't be both positive and negative at the same time. So when your brain is practicing scanning your environment for positive things, your brain can't literally look for all the negative things at the same moment. You're beginning to all of a sudden find new ways to scan your environment for the good. And over time, this becomes a reflexive habit that changes your outlook on life. The third habit is A for acts of kindness. I recommend you take 2 minutes a day to thank or praise somebody in your social support network. You can do so by text, by phone, in person, or even a handwritten letter. But what happens when you send a quick message to somebody saying thank you for something that you've done, all of a sudden you create a positive feedback loop that not only makes the other person feel happier, but it also makes you feel happier. And so you begin to create a virtuous cycle. M for meditation. I recommend you take 2 minutes a day to simply watch your breath go in and out. When you meditate, other people around you pick up the benefits of your meditation, even if they don't know you're meditating. This comes back to something called the mirror neuron effect. And the mirror neuron effect is an incredibly powerful response based on the fact that humans are wirelessly connected to one another. The last habit is exercise. Exercise is a bit of a starter drug. I recommend that individuals pick one of these 5 habits to try for 21 days in your life. This is up to you, and you can get better at happiness if you make happiness into a work ethic. Success leads to happiness. Researchers have since found that the exact opposite is true. Happiness leads to success. We keep thinking, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get good grades. Or I'll be happy when I get into college. And then you get into college and suddenly you need to get a job. And then you need to get a promotion. And then you need to buy a house. And each time happiness gets pushed over the cognitive horizon and your brain never actually gets to that feeling of happiness. The reason why is because we're chasing after perhaps the wrong things. When we look after success as something that leads to greater happiness, we're constantly looking for external validation for our overall happiness. But if we can positively identify the correct things that actually drive meaning and satisfaction on a deeper level, then we're actually moving towards being the person that we want to be. Those are the things that create long-term satisfaction and happiness. Money can't buy happiness. Money can actually buy happiness, but only about 10% of it. If you tell me how much money you make, I can tell you how happy you are going to be in your life, but only by 10%. Because the other 90% of happiness is related to how you process the world around you and your genetic makeup, which means that 90% is up to you. So no matter how many houses you buy, how many planes you own, it won't necessarily impact your happiness. And in fact, it might have a decreasing effect. Research finds that individuals who are more wealthy actually reach a point at which their happiness begins to decline with increasing money. We find that there is the law of diminishing returns in economics that says that there is a benefit to things like money for a certain amount of time, and then after a certain point, there's a steep drop-off. Social media makes us unhappy. Many individuals feel as though social media is making us less happy overall by creating levels of social comparison, creating an increasing cyberbullying, and leading to a lot of insecurities about privacy. But social media is not to blame. It's about how we use it. Challenges of social media is a level of social comparison, always looking to other individuals in your immediate environment who perhaps are living a better life or their lives seemingly are perfect. But when we look at our own lives, we start to wonder, maybe I should be doing something different, and you feel less satisfied. The fastest way to make someone less happy is to compare them to someone else. We often say that comparison is the thief of joy. So looking at social media, the key is to be able to limit the amount of time and exposure to social media that actually benefits you, that helps you feel connected, and the moment at which you begin to find yourself comparing to somebody else, to step away and maybe even, if you need to, take a digital detox. Thanks so much for tuning in today. My goal is to leave you feeling empowered and to know that you can make a difference in your happiness levels, that it is within reach, and that you can become a best version of yourself by striving after your potential. Good luck.